Taking a trip back to the 1800s, Nikola Tesla versus Thomas Edison on the channel Captivating History. Tesla v. Edison in 12 minutes. Let's go.
Did you know that Tesla, the inventor of the AC
Technically
electric
13
system
minutes.
that most people use today, was actually 9 years younger than Edison, the inventor of the modern
For
light
real?
bulb? Many changes that dictate our lives
No,
today
I
come
didn't know
from
that.
the Industrial Revolution, a time of
The
unstoppable innovation
revolution
and social change.
of
One of the
industry.
innovations that impacted the world was electricity, which is essential to our everyday
Electricity.
lives. Many
Electricity.
people cannot imagine living without it for more than a few hours.
Oh, no. I couldn't.
This advancement was investigated by two men from two
No, no,
different.
no. Could you imagine living in the world today without electricity? The entire planet would just absolutely fall apart if we lost electricity. Imagine waking up tomorrow not having it. I mean, even if we were to wake up tomorrow and we had Thomas Edison's electricity and not Nikola Tesla's uh, electricity, because as far as I understand, Nikola Tesla created alternating current, which I do know that to be true, and Thomas Edison, even though he personally may have not invented it personally himself, but supposedly he came out with direct current, which is not nearly as good as alternating current. If we use Thomas Edison's version of electricity, we would have these little power substations like every 4 blocks everywhere, all across America. Like virtually every house would have to have its own like little miniature power station to handle the electricity. It was very inefficient, which is probably why he tried to destroy Tesla. But anyway, I'm not the history teacher, so I'll just hit play.
Countries.
My bad.
Nikola Tesla was brilliant
We'll see
and
what happens. Maybe
fascinated
I'm
by
completely wrong.
electricity.
I don't know.
Thomas
Fuck do I
Edison
know?
was persistent and focused on inventing for a profit. Both men worked together for
Yeah,
a
he was a
time,
profiteer.
but soon
What a
Tesla left
dick.
Edison's business and went to
How
work for
dare he
George
invent for
Westinghouse,
money?
starting the War of the Currents.
The War
The
of the
tension
Currents.
between these two men has fascinated people and has caused many to wonder which man was better.
I wonder if they're going to talk about the electric chair because apparently that was like some big propaganda campaign to prove that that alternating current was deadly. It kills humans in seconds, and apparently, I don't know if it was Thomas Edison personally or if it was General Electric or who it was exactly in Thomas Edison's camp, but apparently they marketed that to the government as a means of execution of prisoners because they wanted to show the public how dangerous alternating current really was, trying to destroy Nikola Tesla. At least that's what I heard. I believe that is actually true though. So I'm just saying.
By examining each of them, we can better
Electric
understand who they
chair, old
were and why
Sparky.
each
That's what they
brought a
call it,
unique
the electric
strength
chair in
that
Florida.
eventually gave us the
Old
electricity
Sparky.
we have today.
They still
Who
use it,
was
by the way,
Nikola Tesla?
if you choose to go out
Nikola
that way.
Tesla was born on July 10th, 1856, in Smiljan, Croatia.
1856.
Even as a
Before the
child,
Civil
he
War.
was inventive and curious
That
about the
was
world.
9 years before
Although
the
he
Civil
did
War
not do
ended.
as well in school as might be expected. He was prone to accidents and was sickly, almost dying from cholera at 17. Luckily, he recovered and spent several
Dude, could you
years at
imagine if he
engineering school
died
and
at
university.
17? Oh my
In
God, dude. The
1881,
world would be
he moved
so
to
different right
Budapest
now
and took employment with the
in all
Budapest
the
Central
worst ways.
Telegraph Office. He soon transferred to the telephone exchange as the chief
Oh, he
electrical
worked as a
engineer.
telegraph operator, did he?
Around this time, Tesla began
Interesting.
experimenting with an alternating current
He was a
electrical
handsome
system,
looking fellow,
or
wasn't he?
AC. Edison's system had already been developed. It
Oh,
was
hell,
called a
Thomas
direct
Edison.
current
No, he
system,
looked like
or
shit. He
DC.
was pudgy.
The current only ran in
Fucking
one
fat
direction,
boy, huh?
requiring multiple power plants to properly
Not trying
support
to
the
hate on
second
fat
industrial
people.
revolution.
Just
Later
saying.
on,
You
Tesla
look
would
fat as fuck.
describe his
That's all I'm
invention
saying.
process more like seeing visions, which is how he first envisioned his induction motor
Yeah,
for the AC
photographic
system.
memory.
It would
Yeah.
change voltage and reverse currents, making it unique at the time.
Looks
While
like
he
a
worked
car
on this motor,
alternator.
he also worked for Continental
Alternating
Edison,
current.
Thomas Edison's French branch of the Edison Company, to repair their DC systems in Germany and Paris. He finally sailed to
Uh-huh.
America in 1884 and began working
Yeah,
for
thank
Edison
God.
himself. Although Edison did not comprehend how Tesla's AC system could fix the issues with DC, he still hired him. While working for Edison,
What?
tension arose between the two men.
He used to work for Thomas Edison? I didn't know that. See, you learn something new every day, man.
Some came
Get your
from
learn on,
Tesla's
man.
critiques of Edison's working style.
Fuck yeah.
Tesla
All right.
believed calculations could save much time,
Calculation.
but Edison preferred to jump right into a project without worrying about the math.
Oh, yeah.
Another
Hell with
area of
math.
tension
Who
came
likes
from a
math? Fuck math.
misunderstanding between the two men. According to Tesla, Edison promised him $50,000 if he could correct the dynamo.
I mean, talk about a white pill moment for somebody listening who might be in high school or someone who's hoping to make a big name for himself. try to innovate and invent, but you really suck at math. Like you just suck ass at math. I mean, I was terrible at math, wasn't very good at math, but I like fixing things, working on things, tinkering with things. But yeah, math was not my strong suit. So I couldn't be the meteorologist that I wanted to be, couldn't be the astronaut that I wanted to be, or the astronomer that I really wanted to be just because I sucked at math. I just couldn't do it. So that's actually kind of cool to hear that Nikola Tesla, math wasn't really his strongest suit.
On the dynamo machines. When Tesla did this quickly, Edison backed out and said he had only been joking. Tesla was horribly embarrassed and quit in 1885, taking a job digging
Uh-oh.
ditches in the New York streets.
No
However,
way.
Tesla
For
was
real?
not ready to give up on his inventions. When he wasn't digging, he continued his experiments and designs,
That's
even
fucking
setting up a
crazy. He
lab
was
in his
digging
hotel
ditches
room
in
and on the
18 in
roof.
the 1880s.
He started his own little company, Tesla Electric Light and Manufacturing.
All right,
Under
let's
this
go.
company, he applied for his first United States patents for a fail switch in outdoor
Imagine
arc
how much
lights
that piece of
and
paper would be
improved
worth today.
dynamos. Despite
Elon Musk
having his
probably
own
has it hanging
business,
in one of his Tesla
Tesla's mind
factories.
was not built for running it. He was more of a scientist than a businessman, which would hurt him later in life.
Uh-oh.
His work continued to attract
Ain't good.
attention, though. Soon after patenting his electromagnetic motor, Tesla began working for George Westinghouse, a New
Oh,
Yorker
okay.
who had made his name in
I've
the
heard of George
railroad industry
Westinghouse.
and was now branching into electricity. Like other investors
Nice.
before him, Westinghouse saw Tesla's potential,
Yeah, that thing's
especially
freaking
with
crazy,
AC
man.
electricity, and he
But you see, he was able to show that off, the giant Tesla coil with what appeared to be lightning striking all around him constantly, but people saw the electric chair and it freaked him out. I mean, all right,
paid
whatever.
Tesla well for it. Tesla's involvement with Westinghouse started the War of the Currents. Tesla's
Yeah,
main
War of the
focuses were
Currents.
demonstrating that AC electricity was
Current
safe
war.
and continuing his other inventions. He was an eccentric genius and never married or had children. His work on electricity
Yeah, it's
was
too bad.
successful, but through poor business decisions,
He married
died
the
alone,
science.
impoverished at the Hotel New Yorker on January 7th,
Yep,
1943.
that was Nikola Tesla. He died
Despite his
penniless.
unnoticed departure,
It's a tragedy.
Tesla's work continues to impact our daily lives,
Oh, in
showing us the
almost
impact that
every
hard work
conceivable
and a
way.
determined mind can have on the world. Who was Thomas Edison?
He was a
Thomas Edison
dick.
is one of the most famous American inventors in history.
Yeah, I
He
guess you
applied for
could give
more
that
than
to him, though.
1,000 patents during his life.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you got to at least give that to him that he did patent over 1,000 different products, inventions, whatever you want to call it. But I don't think he single-handedly invented every single one of those 1,000 patents. Pretty sure that he bought a lot. He might have, five-finger discounted some of them.
And his interests range from electricity to motion pictures.
Maybe not him
He
personally,
was
but his
born
his
on
fucking
February
cronies.
11th, 1847, and was educated at home by his mother, Nancy.
1847.
Nancy had a
Nancy.
formal education, unlike her husband, and she believed her children should have the same education she did.
Well, she
She
thought right.
inspired a love for lifelong learning in her son. Soon, Edison was asking questions about
I mean, look, as much of an asshole that Thomas Edison was, the world would also not be a very good place. Or, well, it would still be a good place, I'm sure, but it wouldn't quite be the place that it is today if not for Thomas Edison. So, I guess you got to give him some credit where credit's
the
due.
world around him. His curiosity fueled his scientific interests, even if his experiments occasionally landed him in trouble. When he turned 12, Edison began working as a newspaper, magazine, and candy vendor for the Grand Trunk
Say,
Railroad.
what's up with all this
At the
candy?
same time, he discovered that he had a severe hearing loss. He had had several
No
illnesses
shit.
when
I
he
got a
was
hearing
younger,
loss. I can't hear
including
my left
scarlet
ear.
fever. By the time he was a young teenager,
True story.
Edison was functionally deaf. He didn't let this stop him. In fact, Edison's
Well,
deafness
good.
led him to improve Bell's telephone because he couldn't hear it, and to create the phonograph.
Really?
When he was
That's cool.
14, Thomas Edison began training as a telegrapher. He was let go
Telegrapher.
from several telegrapher positions for experimenting without approval and sending
for being an
unauthorized
asshole.
messages. Edison was
Maybe he was responsible for the first ever prank calls. He was probably prank calling through that telegraph. Is your fuck, what are those things called? The not megaphone. The phonograph. Is your phonograph
too
running?
focused on inventing to let this stop him,
Whatever.
and focused on improving the telegraph system, which he did in 1864. He created the Morse repeater, which slowed down messages and punched Morse code into a strip of paper, reducing errors. Although he stayed in the telegraph business for a couple more years, Edison was now focused on turning his inventions into a profit. His attempt at a vote recorder for Congress failed, but he reworked it as a universal stock ticker. Thomas Edison then
Uh-huh.
reworked the telegraph system to send 4 messages on a wire.
He really
Western
invented the
Union
stock
paid him
market ticker system?
$30,000. With that
It's
money,
interesting.
Edison finally had the capital to build his inventing workshop at Menlo Park in New Jersey.
Inventing workshop. What an
Thomas
ego.
Edison was not interested in electricity at first. He was more interested in inventions and turning a profit. He liked to jump between projects, and one of his early scandals involved the telephone. Alexander Graham Bell invented it, but the device
Yeah.
only had a small range. Western Union asked Edison to improve it. He came up with the version people used until the 1980s, but the patent lawsuits kept
No
all
shit.
relevant players tied up for years afterward. His
What?
ingenuity included other inventions and improvements.
Where are they talking about the rotary dial telephone? Is that what he patented? I mean, no, they didn't have the rotary dial back then. Well, I mean, I guess they did in like the 1920s. I'm sure they had it then. Maybe they did. Maybe they
Such
had
as
it in
the
the 1800s.
phonograph
The fuck
and
do I
moving
know?
pictures. He originally intended the phonograph to record telephone messages, but it quickly moved into the entertainment sector as people recorded speeches and music.
Recording
Others'
telephone messages. That's cool, man. He came up with like the first ever answering machine.
explorations inspired his work on moving pictures. Edison's first
Moving
attempts to copy
pictures.
them could only be viewed under a microscope, one person at a time, but it awakened excitement in people. In 1892, the kinetoscope, which allowed moving pictures to be projected on a screen, was invented,
The
and
kinetic.
Edison used it and other inventions until he was forced out of the film industry by other inventors.
Ah, ah,
His work on the light
uh-oh.
bulb is possibly one of his most famous inventions, but like
Yeah.
much of Edison's work, he was not the first to come up with the idea.
What was the first filament? Wasn't it cardboard? I think it was like cardboard or something. Like he used like hundreds and hundreds of different types of materials to try to get it to illuminate as the filament, like the little springy thingy in the middle of the light bulb. But I actually they might explain it. I think it
That
was like
honor
some
goes
sort of
to Humphrey
cardboard or
Davy,
something.
a chemist in Cornwall, England.
Or maybe not.
Edison
Maybe they're
focused
not.
on improving the light bulb for commercial profit, including
Oh, we're
changing the
still on to
filament to
something.
bamboo fibers and creating a vacuum.
Bamboo
Famously,
fibers.
Edison discussed how he had found a
Ah,
thousand ways not to build a light
bamboo.
bulb before finally settling on the current model. His light bulb lit the world, helping us see our lives in a new light.
Yes, it
He
did.
also became involved in electricity, building a light bulb factory in 1878.
I know that the first town or the first area, the first urban area that had streetlights installed was somewhere in Indiana. I know that. It was like in like 1860s. Maybe it was around 1870, something like that. I don't know. I remember learning about that in elementary school for some random ass reason.
And eventually developing the DC system. His work on electricity made him famous, giving him the capital he needed to continue inventing and generating money from his discoveries, even if many were reworks of other people's ideas. Edison was financially successful over his lifetime, and he left behind a reasonably sized family. He finally passed on October 18, 1931, and was remembered
1931.
nationwide as the man who helped give us the light bulb and brought light to the Second Industrial Revolution. Who was better? Comparing the
Oh,
two
Nikola
men
Tesla,
may
man,
seem a
hands
natural
down.
outcome of the War of the Currents.
Alternating
After
current? Are
all,
you
they
kidding?
were on opposite sides. Edison stuck to his work on DC
Yep, direct
electricity at
current.
his company.
I was
At the
right.
same time, Tesla held on to his work on AC electricity at
Thank God.
Westinghouse's company. Still, neither man was the only one working on this new innovation. Other inventors and scientists worldwide also made discoveries that
I didn't realize that he worked closely with Westinghouse like that, and that Westinghouse just kept going with alternating current over the years. I'm surprised Westinghouse didn't give him like a stipend or a pension or something. I'm surprised that they didn't at least take care of him. I mean, dude was responsible for the hell of freaking crazy ass fortune that Westinghouse probably made.
impact how we use electricity today.
Kind of
So neither
infuriating to be
Tesla nor
honest.
Edison is fully responsible for the two competing types of electricity.
Shit ain't cool, man.
The
People
War of the Currents
sabotaging each
took
other
off
back in the
between
day.
Edison's and Westinghouse's companies,
Fucking money.
but Edison
All
started
about
with
the
an
damn money.
advantage. He was a much better performer than Tesla. Nikola Tesla had
Yeah,
obsessive
I mean,
compulsive disorder,
that-
and his symptoms
Yeah,
intensified.
definitely probably a better marketer between the two. I'm sure was Thomas Edison, whereas Nikola Tesla sounded like a full on recluse. Yeah, like OCD, constantly working on whatever it is that he's working on. Didn't want to be interrupted by anybody. Probably why he didn't get married and had
throughout
kids.
his life. Although he was
Married his
comfortable
work.
speaking to the scientific community, he could not perform as Edison did. Thomas Edison loved working an audience, and he was a gifted salesman. Edison could read the markets and tailored his various inventions for maximum profit. He was so good at advertising and spreading his name that he even received credit for things he did not invent, like Bell's telephone. However,
Yeah, that's
Edison could
bullshit.
not focus and lacked the scientific intellect Tesla had, so he did not see or listen to the flaws
But hey, at least they corrected the record though, because every school kid knows that Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone.
in DC electricity. DC electricity only worked within 1 mile of the generator, so
Aha, told you.
supplying all of New York City quickly became costly for Edison's company.
Yeah, they had to install like a substation, like I said, like every 4 blocks or maybe it was like every 10 blocks or something like that. They had like these little itty bitty miniature little corner power stations that they had to build all over the place, and it was just extremely impractical and expensive.
AC
Too much
electricity could
machinery,
travel much farther than DC electricity on small
hundreds of
wires.
miles.
As Edison realized, Westinghouse and Tesla were catching up to his success. Edison began negative propaganda about them and AC
Uh oh,
electricity.
here comes the electric chair.
Installing the overhead lines for AC electricity was
Maybe not.
dangerous, and Edison used the accidents to create fear and tout his own company. Westinghouse attempted to convince Edison to come to a civil solution, but Edison refused and stuck to his dramatic attempts to discredit Westinghouse and Tesla. Thankfully,
God, he's such
Edison's
an asshole,
theatrics
man.
did not stop Tesla's work.
Even though he knew, he had to have clearly known that alternating current was way better for the world. It was way more efficient, way more cost effective, much better return on your investment, I'm sure. But well, I didn't invent it, so I'm just going to ruin it at all costs.
Westinghouse and Tesla continued to
Fucking
discuss the
assholes.
safety of AC with the public. Eventually, they were able to attract customers to AC by filling in the gaps in Edison's network, and ultimately proving AC was safe to use in the domestic sphere.
Okay,
But
well, see, look, you can work together after all. All right, Thomas Edison. See, you can have all the major big cities and everything, and then Westinghouse and Nikola Tesla, they can kind of fill in the gaps, in areas where they're not dead in the center of the city. Some people they actually lived in the country. I'm sure more people probably lived in the country back then than they do now. I mean,
1892,
percentage wise at
Edison
least.
had stepped away from electricity and merged Edison's electric with Thomson Houston to form General Electric,
General Electric.
which used Thomson Houston's AC
GE.
patents.
Still around to this day.
Historians cited the end of the War of the Currents in 1893,
They
when
made my
Tesla's
washing
AC
machine.
system lit the White City at the Chicago World Columbian Exhibition. Some
Yeah, that was
rare
in the
electric
1880s.
systems still use DC today, but it is generally reserved for isolated areas that only need power over a small distance. Overall, Nikola Tesla
Yep.
and Westinghouse won the War of the Currents. AC is today's primary electrical system. However, Edison won the publicity side of the war. Most people have heard of Thomas Edison and know he is connected to the development of electricity, but not as many people have heard of Tesla. While this has changed in recent years,
Yeah, I was gonna say, dude, it's kind of changed in recent years, though, thanks to Elon Musk and his company Tesla. I mean, yeah, for sure. But yeah, I absolutely will agree with that because, I graduated high school back in the early 2000s. And when I was in elementary school, middle school, I never heard of Nikola Tesla. They weren't talking about Nikola Tesla, but they sure as hell were talking about Thomas Edison, though. They were painting him to be some, like inventor god, how he invented like 1,000 different things. And then I found out when I was an adult, like a lot of the stuff he took credit for inventing, he actually didn't technically invent. Apparently, he bought a lot of his patents. I mean, so I read.
Edison remains the more widely known of the two men. Both Edison and Tesla were important in the development of electricity in the late 1800s, and their contributions have changed how we live and see the world. While they had different strengths, the modern world would be very different today without these men, with their unique strengths,
Very
trying to
different.
make the world a brighter place. How would you
Yeah, but you never know. I mean, somebody may have come along, if Einstein never lived or whatever, maybe surely somebody probably would have come along and discovered what Einstein discovered, or the same with taking electricity to the next level. It may have just gotten a later start than it otherwise had. I mean, electricity really it started taking off in like what 1870s, 1880s, and then it just took off from there. Maybe we would have been like 30 years behind, 40 years behind. I mean, it's a crazy thought, but it's possible. Maybe the internet would just now be getting started today in like the 2020s. I mean, I would say, societally would be a lot better off today because, things were kind of relaxed for the most part in the 90s. I know we had our own problems in the 90s, but, overall it was kind of a calm period in America's history. But anyway, yeah, it looks like this is it, but I'll let the last few seconds
like to
play
get a
out.
deeper understanding of history, impress your friends, and predict the future more accurately based on past events? If this sounds like something you might be into, Then check
Captivating
out the
History
brand new
Book Club.
Captivating History Book Club by
All
clicking the
right.
first link in the
Check the
description.
description.
To learn more about Tesla and Edison, check out our book, Tesla versus Edison,
Hey,
a
maybe made a
captivating
book.
guide to the War of the Currents and the life of Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison. It's
You're into
available
books.
as an
Pick one up.
ebook, paperback,
On
and
Amazon.
audiobook. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was a good video. I enjoyed that. Fast facts. You could get into the nitty gritty and check out some other videos on Nikola Tesla versus Thomas Edison. There are some longer ones. There's some that go hour and a half in length. But yeah, here's the channel. Actually, I didn't really mean to click on the channel. I actually meant to go back to the description to show some of the links on here and just to see for my own self. Yeah, here we go. Get the audiobook. You can actually get the audiobook version of The Age of Enlightenment. You get a free mythology bundle ebook covering Greek, Norse, and Egyptian mythology. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, they've got hold on. Yeah, they've actually got quite a few videos on this channel. I subscribed because they've got almost 3,000 videos. That is legit, man. They got a lot of good stuff on here. So this will probably not be the only video that I'll be checking out on this channel. So definitely check them out. And thank you a lot for watching. And be sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you later.